Sinking funds are probably one of the best things you can do for yourself financially if you're looking to gain control of your finances and your spending, and also to prevent yourself from going into further debt or going into debt at all. 2019 was my first year with sinking funds, and I had heard of sinking funds for years, but I honestly thought the term was so strange and I never even took the time to understand it. I just thought it was some sort of weird savings thing, but it's very simple, and so I'm here to break that down for you, and then you can decide if sinking funds are something that you want to start in 2020. So basically, a sinking fund is just a specific savings account, and we have an emergency fund and then we have sinking funds, and these two are actually very different. An emergency fund is exactly as it sounds, for an emergency, things that are not planned, things that may come up throughout the year or anytime, and you get to decide that amount, whatever you are comfortable with. A sinking fund is typically something that you are either planning for or something that you just want to have extra cash for, just so you don't end up spending too much in that area or going into debt when something comes up, something that is planned. And I'm going to give you my sinking funds and some examples in just a moment, but sinking funds are so important because they help to prevent you stay out of debt. Creating sinking funds in 2019 was easily one of the best financial decisions I made this year, and it helped me a ton in regards to the certain areas that I saved for. When it comes to creating your own sinking funds, it's important for you to go back and take a look at your spending for the whole year, which I think it's something that you should just get into a habit of anyway, and I could make a whole separate video on tracking spending. But if you go back and pay attention to the random things that popped up every single month that you either charged to your card and you went into debt for, or that you just had to spend extra money on, those are probably areas that you should focus your sinking funds around. A big example is Christmas time. How many people go into debt for buying Christmas gifts? Christmas or the holidays are a time when a lot of people feel obligated to purchase gifts, and that is completely fine. That is tradition for a lot of people, but many people go into debt, and that is the problem. Because if you're going into hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars of debt for gifts, that is a sign that you need to be saving for that rather than going into debt for that every single year. And then you're starting off the year in a bad way because you are carrying that debt over into the next year. What I love about sinking funds is they're completely customizable. You can create a sinking fund for whatever you want, for however many things you want. Granted, your budget, it will allow for that. And you can put however much money you want into it each month. Personally, I have a few sinking funds. I have a sinking fund for gifts, and this includes birthday gifts, anniversary, Christmas, all of that. I have a sinking fund for car maintenance, so this would include things like oil changes, or for example, my car battery died a couple of weeks ago. I used some of my sinking fund for that to replenish what I had spent on it. I also have a sinking fund for vacation, and then I have a sinking fund for medical and dental expenses on top of my emergency fund. For personal reasons, I choose to have a sinking fund for medical and dental expenses because this past year I had 2 root canals during my 1-year waiting period of dental insurance coverage for root canals. So I had to pay out of pocket 2 root canals, which was a pretty hefty amount, as you can imagine. And so I prefer to have more as a cushion for medical and dental expenses just in case. I have my emergency fund, which is separate. Personally, I contribute $200 total to my sinking funds, $100 to gifts, $30 to car maintenance, $50 to medical and dental, and $20 to vacation. As I said, these are completely customizable, so whatever you want to save for is completely up to you. If you want to have 200 sinking funds and your budget fits that, then go for it. But more realistically, people typically have under 10. Common sinking funds would include the things that I just listed, as well as a wedding, furniture, a house, a down payment for a car, Maybe you really want to upgrade your cell phone or get a new electronic. Maybe you want to create a sinking fund for specific holidays, you know, like 4th of July and Thanksgiving, because maybe you're somebody who likes to host parties or something. And so every year, if you're going into debt for everything that you host, or you're spending way too much money and not prepared for it when the time comes, then that's something to consider creating a sinking fund for. So you can literally do anything that you want, and you should take a look at your own spending habits and your own budget from the past years, and then take that into account and create your sinking funds from there. You don't even need to put tons of money in. It's just, if you can put $5 towards something every single month, that's amazing. And what I love about sinking funds too is that if absolutely necessary, that can also act as an emergency fund. Ideally, you don't want to do that. You can grow your emergency fund at the same time as your sinking funds, but if you absolutely needed extra money, you can use that sinking fund money because it's just there. Now, a big question is, where do you put this money? So some people take out cash every single month. Some people get paid in cash. It just depends on your lifestyle. Personally, I have direct deposit, and what I do is I have my money automatically transferred out of my checking account into a high yield savings account. I use Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Within Marcus, I am able to have multiple accounts. So I have 6 different accounts with Marcus. I don't remember if you can have more or not. I think Capital One also allows you to do this in their high yield savings account. Ally Bank allows you to do this. Just do some research on high yield savings accounts, and you will be able to find which ones allow for multiple accounts and whichever one you are willing to trust. And so I have it automatically transfer over to the specific account. I'm able to name those accounts. And the best thing about that is that it's in a high yield savings account. So I am gaining interest on that money while it is sitting in the bank. So it's literally the easiest money you could make. It's free money, passive income, and I just allow it to sit in there until I need it. So when it comes to it, so for example, I've been Christmas shopping, and so I would spend the money with either my debit card or my credit card to collect points or anything like that, and then I would transfer the money out of my high yield savings account back into my checking account and either pay the same amount that I had purchased the gift for, or just keep it in my checkings if I used my debit card. Some people prefer to have it in cash just so it is right there immediately. I typically always have enough money to spare in my checking account, and then I also have my credit cards to use, so I like to keep it in my savings account until I am ready to replenish what I need to. Hopefully all of that makes sense. If anything is not clear, I will answer any questions that you may have. I will probably also eventually create a blog post on sinking funds, so that will be linked down below. If anything, the main thing to remember here is that you should be prioritizing your emergency fund first. So if you do not have an emergency fund in place, something that you are comfortable with. You know, Dave Ramsey suggests $1,000. In my opinion, that is not enough for me, just from my experience, like with the root canal, that was well over $1,000. And so I prefer to keep a little bit more than that. You may want to keep $10,000 in your emergency fund. Maybe you're okay with 500, whatever. But then once your emergency fund is good, you can start contributing to sinking funds, however you prefer to do that, in cash, in your checking account, in a separate savings account, whatever works for you. Don't feel pressured to do it if you are not able to fit that into your budget. We'll talk more about budgets as we go, but it is such a good way to save for something. If you want to go out in the year, you can save for entertainment. There's so many things that you could create a sinking fund for, but it's completely up to you. And hopefully this video was helpful if you did not know what a sinking fund was before this. But comment down below if you plan on starting any sinking funds in 2020, or if you already have sinking funds. We can share some ideas for what you guys do, and share if those have helped you in the past like they have for me. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you are not already, and I will see you in the next one.